Yeah, thank you, Zach. Appreciate everybody sticking around here and being a part of this. Obviously, I want to reiterate first what Coach Miller just said about showing up to Fifth Third tomorrow night, sending our seniors off the right way in terms of their last game at Fifth Third. Obviously, a great opponent. So please do show up and be a part of that game. It should be a lot of fun on Wednesday night. Well, I feel like it's the right time to give an update on name, image, and likeness and what we've been doing at Cincinnati. There's been a lot of work being done behind the scenes for a long period of time, and it just felt like this was a good time to give an update. I'd planned to do it anyway, and then as we started having discussions with Cincy Reigns, we realized that they were launching something very, very soon around the same time frame that I was working with, and so we kind of put these two together, and we'll have a launch of the Let's Reign campaign today, and Brian Fox is going to talk to you more about that. Obviously, there isn't a day that goes by in the athletics department that we're not talking about name, image, and likeness, really across the board, how it impacts our student athletes, how it impacts our athletics program, kind of the landscape of college athletics and the space that we're in. It's a changing time. Coach Miller mentioned that. But at the same time, we also recognize that our overall mission never changes. Our mission is to make sure that our student athletes have world-class experience and that we're helping to change the lives of our student athletes so that they become better young men, young women, go out into the community and give back. And so one of the challenges that we have is taking the world of NIL that we live in and making sure that it fits us and fits this mission that we have, that we will always do at the very highest level. I think we're going to do it as good as anybody in the country in terms of a holistic approach, retaining student athletes, using NIL to retain student athletes, and making sure that we're giving them all sorts of opportunities in that space. As I sit here as an athletics director, I know that not only having robust programming around NIL is important, but also funding NIL is important. That's part of the matrix of being competitive now, and it's going to be part of the matrix going forward in terms of winning in the Big 12. We're going to have to decide who we want to be in this space. We're going to have to be aggressive. The Big 12 isn't waiting for us in terms of what we're going to be doing in the Big 12 and in terms of what we're doing with NIL. So we're going to have to be as aggressive as possible. I want to touch a little bit on what I think is one of the best structures that I've seen that we have here at Cincinnati. We have a tremendous structure, a lot of hard work that's been put into place over the last 20 months or so around NIL. Obviously, Brian Fox is part of that with cincyreigns.org. That's going to be an important piece. We're going to talk about that. But we've received a lot of help from local businesses, local business leaders to set this up the right way, to do it our way within our culture. And again, I'm really proud of that. We've had donors and supporters that have supported it at a very high level, kind of behind the scenes, but it's kept us competitive to date. We need to scale. We need to take it to the next level, which is something that I want to address today with a specific ask of our fan base as well. We have undeniable proof that our fan base is going to support us. And what I mean by that is every time that we've asked, every time that we've gone to our fans to say, hey, this is what the next iteration of Bearcat athletics is going to be, our fans have stepped up, right? When you look at what we did to get into the Big 12, what we did at Nippert Stadium, the West Pavilion, Fifth Third Arena, I think is one of the best arenas in college basketball. That renovation was incredible, but there was a huge financial commitment to get that done. All of that being put together to get us into the Power 5 league, so that now we're at the biggest stage in college athletics, and we can go out and compete, bring these unbelievable teams into Fifth Third and Nippert. And I would also say that our fans have stepped up in terms of our most recent project and campaign, which is the Day One Ready campaign. $100 million campaign to get Day One Ready into the Big 12. We've raised over $85 million in commitments toward that campaign already. Back to back to back, greatest fundraising years in the history of Bearcat athletics. So certainly our fan base recognizes how important it is in terms of resources. And now we need them in the NIL space. That's just where the battles are being fought in terms of competitiveness. And if I'm a fan of the Bearcats on the outside, I would want to know that, and I would want as much information about how we're going to be competitive as possible. And right now, that largely, or partly at least, exists in the world of NIL and how you fund that. So how do we fund NIL at Cincinnati? There's really been a three-prong approach that we've taken. I'll go through those quickly and then pass it over to Brian. But the first prong for us has been business, direct contact with our student athletes. It's called Bearcat Exchange. We set that program up immediately when NIL went into place. We've been really, really aggressive and successful. We've had businesses, local businesses, that have seen the value of our student athletes promoting their product and service. We've had Skyline Chili do a deal with our offensive linemen. That was just a tremendous deal for everybody involved, and our student athletes learned to be professionals by going through that process, right? We've had a deal with MedPace that was really, really unique and special to us. And then Kroger has stepped up across the board with a lot of our female student athletes and have done NIL deals. So across the board, more than 70% of our student athletes have been involved in some way in NIL with the business community, and we're going to continue to do that. That's going to separate us from other schools and other programs. That will be a differentiator for us at Cincinnati, and so we'll expand that. That's prong one. Prong two, we've been working closely with pro camps, G3 pro camps, which has been around this industry for a while, running some of the best youth camps in the country, and they're based out of Ohio. So we've been able to connect with them. Some of our larger contributors and donors have done multi-year commitments to G3 and pro camps. It's a natural fit for our student athletes to get into the community, work with youth, underprivileged youth specifically, and use what they know. They know college athletics, they know sports, they know how to work with youth and teach their sport, and they've really done a remarkable job. I can't tell you, every time that we get done with one of those camps, I get a number of emails and phone calls about how great our student athletes were with these young people and how much of an impact they've had. So we'll continue to do that and expand on that. That's been prong two. Our third prong has been cincyreigns.org, and that was launched by Brian Fox, again, a third party that came in, did it the right way, built it out the right way with the right board around it, has really done a tremendous job continuing to expand on that and get the word out. You've probably seen cincyreigns.org at different events that we've had advertised. Again, it's done the right way. And what I like the most about it is it's about the masses. It's a crowdfunding model. It's a website that's easy to navigate. It gives you a lot of information. It allows you to give small amounts of money on a subscription basis if need be, and just really commit to being part of this solution and being part of advancing our student athletes as they become ambassadors for our university. So again, really well thought out. The structure is great. It's as good as any structure in the country. Now we need to scale it, and we need people involved. So that's my ask. Today, as cincyreigns.org launches Let's Reign, we're asking our fans to give $350 a year at minimum. It's $20, a little over $20 a month in a subscription service. And we think that if we get enough, we can be a leader in this space, and we can have everybody be a part. Join the club, be a part of what Cincy Reigns is doing. We'll bring you in close. You'll start to see these stickers around more and more. I envision them to be on a lot of cars around Cincinnati. If you think about some of those ovals that you see with people going to the Outer Banks or whatever, like that's what this thing should look like around Cincinnati. People should buy into being a part of Cincy Reigns, being a part of the events that they're going to be putting on, the newsletters that they're going to be giving you, and all the benefits that you get from kind of getting in close to the program. Again, this is what it's going to take. We're going to have to decide who we want to be and how we want to compete. And right now, it needs to be right there with NIL and Cincy Reigns. Last point I want to make, and we haven't talked about this, but I want to make this clear. When we sat down and looked at how we were going to price Nipper and Fifth Third going into the Big 12, we did a lot of different analysis. And although we've been going up, and we certainly did raise prices in Fifth Third and in Nippert, we could have gone up quite a bit more to go right up against where our peers are in terms of pricing at the Power 5 level, and maybe specifically in the Big 12. But we stayed below that. And we did it specifically because I wanted our fan base to have some leeway to be involved in NIL. And so we really dug in and had a lot of different conversations about our price points, and we realized that it just can't be and. We just can't ask for more and more and more. We need people to have a little bit of an opportunity to come to a game and have some discretionary dollars put into Cincy Reigns to be a part of the overall club that we're building, and the support that we're giving all of our student athletes. And so just know that that was a factor in our pricing, and that's how important this space is going to be going forward. So I'm going to pass it over to Brian Fox, who can walk you through this campaign and some of the great things that are going on at cincyreigns.org. But I cannot thank him enough, again, for stepping in and building this the right way and supporting our student athletes and our programs the way he has. Thank you.
Thanks, John, for that. You kind of covered it all. So let me just kind of tell you, I really appreciate the encouragement that John has provided along the way, and his team. I mean, it's a community of folks that are engaged and invested, and they're not just employees here. These are folks who sacrifice their lives, time away from their families, because they believe in building an excellent University of Cincinnati athletics department. And so it's been a real privilege. I've known so many of these folks for so long. It's been a real privilege to kind of scrub in and to collaborate and to share information, just so that we can try to build Cincy Reigns to be the best model possible. With Cincy Reigns, when we were in the ideation phase, I tried to survey and read everything I could possibly read on NIL. What were some best-in-class structures and practices and disciplines. I'm a corporate lawyer as my day job, and I'm really grateful for my clients who've extended me many graces as I've had to throw time at this. And so, I've kind of tried to apply what I do day to day into this context to try to build Cincy Reigns, to create an infrastructure that allows for what we're building to provide a sustainable platform of success into the future. I don't see this is not my alter ego. This is not something that I'm doing. All of the folks that are on the board, all of the folks who are not on the board, that are just sacrificing their own time, effort, and energy, and who are volunteering. We have a couple of folks who pretty much almost all day, every day, they make $0 and they just contribute and volunteer their time to try to work on different initiatives and help us build out the frame and structure that we are trying to create. And so, with this campaign that we're launching today, the Let's Reign campaign, we're looking for, it's an ambitious ask, we're asking for 7,000 people to donate at a $350 level. And we're targeting this campaign to last through to our joining of the Big 12 on July 1. We have signed our initial class of the Cincy Reigns student athletes, class of 12. You should have those folks, I believe, in your press materials. And it's a diverse group from every sport. We want to be about the entire athletic department. And we want to be about building athletic success and working with our student athletes to try to help build into their lives as best we can through our commitment to being engaged philanthropically in the greater Cincinnati area, and also to just kind of be a resource for folks that are looking. I mean, the board that I assembled, there are business owners, there's a NASA scientist, a couple lawyers, of course, and what we're trying to do is put people in the path of Cincy Reigns who can add value, who can offer more than just a thought or an insight, or even write a check, but folks who can engage and are comfortable in the mentoring in the life-on-life space. So we need you. We're at the point now where we've done a lot of the diligence, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of the late nights and early mornings, a lot of meetings, a whole lot of meetings, as we are trying to figure out, okay, so how's this going to work? How are we going to make sure that this process fits and it's seamless and it works for everyone? And so I'm delighted. I look at the University of Cincinnati and its fan base as an extended family. And I see a lot of the folks in athletics as extended family members and brothers and sisters and people that I have shared a lot of life with over the years. And so this has really been a labor of love. And I'm excited about what the fan base will do, because the fan base at the University of Cincinnati has been great and will continue to be great.
Questions for John or Brian?
Yep.
Everyone does NIL a little bit differently. Who have you watched and what have you learned by watching other schools and how they've been able to handle doing it over the last year or so?
Yeah, I think it starts with what I talked about at the beginning in terms of working it into your mission and your culture. And so we're an educational institution, right? And these are young people. They're looking for leadership and guidance. And so one of the things that I've seen others do well and that we wanted to make sure that we did is educate our student athletes every day about what this space looks like. As we learn, we're going to educate them. We need to look at financial literacy. As they become more involved, they're going to have more resources, and we want to make sure that when they leave here, they not only have school debt, but they have a little money to work with as they go about their lives. And so that financial literacy piece is really, really important. And then I think those that have done it really well, and you're starting to see it more, is exactly why we're here today, which is getting out to the masses. Because to me, this is sustainable only if everybody gives a little bit. And especially at Cincinnati, that's how we're going to be successful, which is understanding as you sit there and go to games, what can I do just a little bit to be a part of this club so that we can continue to support our coaches and be successful. You have to have table stakes. You don't have to be the #1 school in the country in terms of how you resource NIL, but you have to have table stakes, and that's what we need.
I think there's a lot of unknowns and unease about collectives in the NIL space. Why do you feel like the alignment with this is so well that you're able to get up here and talk about it together, and you believe that moving forward, no matter what legislation or whatever might get passed, that this collective will be in good standing for to help the program?
In my opinion, it's because of people like Brian Fox and others that we've been talking to and that have helped us through this process. Their heart's in the right place. They really want our student athletes to be successful. There's also a real focus on retention of the student athletes that are here now, that are giving so much. I think it's really special, when you go out and play a game on Wednesday, like we're going to play in the NIT, to have David DeJulius that has been here and been through it, and we can really give him a great send-off because he's ingrained himself in this community. And we have so many other student athletes that have done that. I think that's a missing piece right now in college athletics. I think student athletes are forgetting how important it is to ingrain yourself into a community that then supports you not only during your time as a student athlete, but for the rest of your life. David DeJulius can come back to Cincinnati and have doors open to him because he gave a significant amount of time to our program. And so I think that that's really special, and we have a lot of student athletes in all of our sports that are born and raised here or just have been here for a while, that I think the retention piece is so important, and that's what we talk a lot about.
And I would say that we monitor it. I monitor it constantly. It has been a fluid regulatory environment. When you look at when the initial NIL guidance came out from the NCAA in July of 2021, and even in their subsequent updates, there have been pivots. And so if you don't monitor it, and if you don't stay on top of how, what regulations are changing, it's a little tough. And so we have, throughout the entire process, been mindful of, the different actors that are involved. You have the NCAA, which has its own, regulations. You have, your state legislature in the state of Ohio. You've got the governor's executive order, and then you've got, the potential for federal legislation. Though the federal legislators haven't always been that good at creating legislation and passing, but that's neither here nor there. But it is to say that there are a number of different folks who provide bodies of law. We're trying to monitor it constantly to make sure that what we're doing is compliant. The 3 C's of Cincy Reigns that I try to preach constantly is compliant, charitable, conduit. We're trying to be compliant with all the regulations. We're trying to be charitably minded in what we do and the impact that we have, and then we're trying to be a conduit of resources. It's an all volunteer board. Nobody's getting paid, so we try to pass any sort of resource that we receive. We treat it as a public trust. We're stewards. We're just trying to help build the ecosystem, really.
What's a process for a new recruit now, and what will it be? I mean, a student athlete comes in, sees facilities, meets the coach, then I guess at some point they're going to want to talk to the NIL people.
No.
No?
Yeah, that may happen at other institutions, but I'm not meeting with student athletes when they're visiting campus, and I'm not going to high school basketball games and pulling kids into the corner to talk. That's some of those behaviors, those activities are prohibited, and so we try to in an abundance of caution, to create layers between that so that doesn't happen.
So if they come in and they ask, then you guys tell them about Cincy Reigns, and then you explain.
Well, the coach is free to communicate about, the vibrant, robust NIL ecosystem that's being created, but that's really the extent of it. And if they elect to commit and play for the University of Cincinnati and attend our academic institution, then then they'll get to experience the benefits of that.
Someone buys a season ticket or even, makes a gift donation for a facility upgrade, I think they kind of understand where that money goes. So something like this, if you commit to that $350 or whatever, amount of money, where does then the money go? How does that use through Cincy Reigns for NIL?
So it's a board decision, so I can't really say where each dollar is going. There's through the website though, you can earmark your contributions to certain sports, and so I work with Altius and Greg Harrell. It's been great to work with, and so I try to evaluate the state of the program, state of that team, try to collaborate with Greg, and then we try to figure out what kind of budget makes sense.
So someone like Dan Skilling's on the basketball team, what does it look like when he maybe gets some NIL money through Cincy Reigns?
What do you mean? What does it look like?
How does that process go? What is Dan doing, and then
Yeah, so we use a platform called Influencer, and we make an offer through Influencer that provides certain contractual conditions that have to be met, charitable obligations on the back end, and then if the student athlete accepts it, then that's what forms the basis of the agreement.
So that's all the ones that are on this list, they've all signed up for one of those agreements.
Right. Yeah, they've all been proposed through Influencer. Yeah.
Obviously, you always want to gain more money for Cincy Reigns to operate with, but in terms of like percentage wise, where you are in terms of going into the Big 12, just as a collective in general, being able to attack all the goals you want in the next 2 years, do you guys feel 100% ready to do all that? You're just welcoming the money in now? Is that kind of where we're at?
No, we're not. That's why we're here. We need the fan base to engage at scale and to meet the challenge of transitioning to the Big 12. The University of Cincinnati's fan base scales differently than some of the programs that we're going to be playing in the Big 12, and so we've got to step it up. And so from an infrastructure perspective, yeah, we're ready. But from a from a resource base, we want our student athletes that commit to the University of Cincinnati to understand that that there's going to be resources at their fingertips so that they can take advantage of their name, image, and likeness, just like the law allows now.
So 7,000 donors, 350 each. I'm not a math major, but I think it's 2.45 million or something. What type of an impact does that have? And obviously there's more than 7,000 donors. It clearly could
Right.
go more.
Right. Yeah, and folks have given it a lot of different levels. Some at really high, and then some at really low. And as easy as it is to get excited that someone sees what we're doing, believes in the University of Cincinnati. If they want to give it a high level, that's cool. But I also almost have a certain affection for folks that are just giving what they can, and they're giving at a level that might be sacrificial for them. Maybe they're a college student, maybe they're younger, maybe they don't have access to adequate resources, but they love the University of Cincinnati. We want, no matter where you're at, financially or what have you, we want you to be able to participate and feel like you're a part of the community. I mean, our board has been writing thank you letters to everybody who's donated, and so our hands are tired. But we want people to know that we see you and we appreciate you. It's meaningful that you're along with us for this journey.
Can it be divvied up? Is it 350? I mean, you mentioned like $20 a month. I mean, can it be divided up in that small of an increment, or is it?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, there's flexibility, and like John was saying, that it's like a Netflix subscription. I mean, I think we're better than Netflix, right? I mean, being a part of our community and supporting UC student athletes and helping build Bearcat Nation, that's way more. That has some transcendence, some lasting power.
I think that's what impressed me, just how this was thought out and built out is much better than others that are out there. In terms of our crowdfunding model, this is kind of our, again, to the masses. There's no other competition that's even close to what Cincy Reigns has been able to do. Really smart people involved that are people that we trust to monitor, again, not only the NCAA rules, but state legislation, and just be on the cutting edge to make sure that we're following all rules. So, I think that's been really important to us too.
And there are a lot of folks who are in the NIL space that are profit-minded. I mean, it's, any time there's a new industry that opens up in an economy, there are folks that rush in. But we have formed both of our entities, the nonprofit corporation and then the LLC, which is out trying to serve as a clearinghouse to get out and broker and bring in deals for our student athletes. That's a single member LLC where the nonprofit is the member. So we've structured it so that nobody's making any money off this, and we're just trying to do all that we can to be that conduit of resources.
John, you spoke at length about why this is so important, but I'm sure you've heard from fans who say, I buy tickets, or I'm a UCATS member, or I give other ways. So then, what is your explanation for why this is, also such an important piece of what's happening moving forward?
Yeah, and I certainly get that, and Brian mentioned it. Everybody has unique opportunities and challenges in terms of how they spend their discretionary dollars. So listen, if you can afford to come to a game, and that's all you can afford, then come to a game and support the Bearcats. I get that. It can't always be it can't always be more. But if you can do $20 a month, then it is important. These are our brand ambassadors. These are young men and women that are driving our university brand. We saw it when we went to the Cotton Bowl and played in front of 18 million people, and we saw it during that whole year and what it meant to everything that we have going on at the university. And there are also young people that are putting in a tremendous amount of time and effort. They don't have time to go get jobs on the side. They don't have time to do a lot of the internships that other people can do. And so I do believe that it's worthwhile to look at this and to think about being part of this solution and really supporting our student athletes. And again, I think an important piece is just the retention. When you get to know these, spend time with them, you get to know them throughout the years, how can we help them and make sure that they're staying at the University of Cincinnati throughout their time and really ingraining themselves in the community. They will give back to the community, I promise you that. So they're worth your effort to give a little bit here.
They're incredible. I mean, so I taught as an adjunct professor in the business school. I taught business law, and so I would have, student athletes in my classes, and I mean the sacrifice to keep your body so that you can play at an elite level, to play, travel, and fulfill all the commitments they have to fulfill, and then show up. My class was at 8 a.m. and I don't like early mornings, but they were dealing with more in their early mornings. Some of them were coming from lifting or what have you, and so they're incredible, special people, and because of that, we want to create an architecture for them to have every measure of success they possibly can.
Obviously, it's still early in the Cincy Reigns tenure, but over the past year, have you guys, maybe this is more a question for John, have you seen the status of having a set collective partnership, of building that up, playing a factor and maybe aiding some recruiting conversations at the higher level?
Well, again, you're not talking about specifics, but certainly what the structure is and what it looks like and how much you're dedicating in terms of your university resources to the supporting the student athlete in terms of the education of it. We partnered with Altius with that, which I think has been invaluable to us as just a consultant trying to monitor what's going on so that we can give the best information to our student athletes. So that plays into it. But again, it's never about specific conversations, but if you can show that you have great structure, that's important right now.
We have time for one more question.
All right. Maybe for Brian or John, but what's going on, Brian? But with you guys going into the Big 12, during the research, was it any particular school or schools that you were kind of trying to model maybe Cincy Reigns after? I know it's a different, you're one of one, but was there any other schools that you saw that had something that you kind of wanted to take up bits and pieces of to kind of bring to Cincinnati?
So I would say that the University of Florida was an early adopter. They were out there and creating some structures and creating at least the beginning forms of a platform. And so as I was reading everything I possibly could, the University of Florida kept surfacing. Tennessee has also been building. There's no schools in the Big 12 that I've necessarily looked at and thought, well, that's a great model, and frankly, it's because we're gonna be that in the Big 12. I hope, right? So, but yeah, I would say University of Florida early on because of some of the stuff they did.
Cool, thank you.